But 595 days at Krug maximum prison, obviously every single day is in prison is horrible. But what to find out from you, what was outstanding? Obviously, from 595 days in prison, you could write 4 or 5 books. But what was outstanding?
No, we generally, I think everything is in the book there. The majority of things that have been happening to me are in the book. The maltreatments, and the attempt to subdue me and trying to destroy me spiritually and so forth. Mm-hmm. And also what you need to understand is that when you are living in such environments, your body is not accustomed into a solitary confinement. You become sick. It's the first thing that happens to you. You'll be attacked by sickness, whether you like it or not. On the basis that your body has now been exposed to a condition that it is not used to. Mm-hmm. So that it happened to me that I became sick, but however, I had to toughen myself to say no. If I don't become strong here, I might end up dying here. I have to be strong. So mental strength is a very important aspect. I want to advise to all those people who are going to go through through what I went through. The first thing that you must deal with is your mental, your brains, mm-hmm. To say, this is where I am.
Prepare yourself psychologically.
Block everything. Mm-hmm. Block almost everything in your head. Mm-hmm. And say, this is where I am. This is my new home. Mm-hmm. Whatever the consequences I will face here. But if you could have read my book, is that I am one person who grew up in extremely very difficult circumstances in life. My growing up, was not a bed of roses. Mm-hmm. I'm not one person who grew with from a golden spoon. I was not fed from a golden spoon. Everything that I did in life was struggle. Everything that I achieved in life was through struggle. It was not easy. So my life journey has not been an easy journey. I lived in worse conditions than the ones that I lived in prison. If you would read the chapter about my life in Kadoma when I was doing my A-levels at Jameson High School, when I was living in a ramshackle, little thatched house, all those and living on 1 meal a day of some cooked sadza and some fushwa, which could have been prepared by my mother, and so forth and the like. So, to me, there is no any condition that I would not be able to suit. I would suit the most luxurious conditions in life. I can suit the worst conditions in life.
Tell us
because
about
I've been through it.
Tell us about the Ben Moneri experience. Who was this person? And you said in your book that he colluded with some people with
no. He is the guy who told my lawyers and my family that he was told that some colleagues in the national in the Triple C told him that Job was working with General Chiwenga to overthrow Emerson Mnangagwa. Whatever Job Sikhala is doing, is all doing it for the purpose of Emerson Mnangagwa. He's doing it for the purpose of General Chiwenga. He is a viceroy who is being used to overthrow Mnangagwa for Chiwenga's purpose. Ben Moneri did tell my family and my lawyers. You cannot deny it. That's why I wrote him his name in the book, because he said it. Mm-hmm. Are you getting what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yes. When I came out of prison, I was also enthusiastic for me to get the veracity of those claims. I tried to find these numbers until I found them. Mm-hmm. And I found him on the presence of my friend Jacob Ngaro for me. And he confirmed that truly some members from Triple C, although he was avoiding to tell me exactly the names, Yeah.
So up to now, you haven't had any single name?
You know, yes, he didn't tell me with names, but he said they came to tell him that this is the message which he conveyed to Emerson Mnangagwa.
But in your book, you said some of these members were close to you. There must have been a mention of name.
No. It was not a mention of name. He said these people were very close to you, and that's why they went to him, because they were close to me, because they purported to know me very well, so that's why they had to approach him on the basis and the strength that they were close to me. Yes, but he refused to disclose their names. Yeah, if the names could have been disclosed, I could have disclosed them. There's nothing for me to disclose on something that if you tell me something, I'm not one person who would hide or run away from it.
But what could have been the reason for some of your allies, of people that you have worked?
Malice, maliciousness, and also hatred. There's a lot of hatred. There was a lot of many things that have been happening in the organization. Read this book properly. I don't want you to read it in pieces. Read it from the first page to the last. You will see some of the things that were happening in the organization. There's a lot of malice, a lot of hatred, a lot of innuendos, a lot of dirty-mindedness to make sure that others are, to not get things going well for them, and also trying to destroy other people. But the intention was very clear to me. These people contributed in me living for 595 days in prison. Because when Mnangagwa obtained such a report from his intelligence that he has been told by people who have been working with me, that I am planning that, he believes them. If you are told something by somebody who is very close to me, in intelligence, you tend to believe them, because you say they're coming directly from his colleagues.
It's a serious allegation.
Yes, it's a serious allegation. So they wanted to make sure that Mnangagwa is very angry. All this thing about saying, because you said Mnangagwa Mpurwa and so forth and the like, he could have been angry about that, but he could not have been so stupid enough for him to even destroy his own public and international standing by incarcerating for me for 2 years without any offense. But this one hardened him further to say, oh, that is what he has been planning. Yes. Yeah. So their intention could have been to make sure that I don't come from prison. That's why you realize that when I come out of prison, some people were surprised. They thought I was going to come out in a coffin, or either I was going to come emaciated and looking like somebody sickly, not knowing my mental strength and the way how I have been dealing with these things at a personal level, on how you should be able to deal with it. And the book that really assisted me in accepting that was Nelson Mandela's book. I read Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom, which was written by him personally, and his own biography, written by one journalist called Thompson. So the book by Thompson is the one that he had a chapter on how Nelson Mandela and his colleagues survived the 27 years in prison. The way how they built up the mental strength for them to be able to survive those 27 years in prison. So it really built my mental strength to say, this is the attitude I must adopt if I am to survive this horrendous persecution I am going through. I have to make sure that my mental strength is up to standard.
Did you have presidential ambitions for your colleagues to really go that way of saying he is planning to talk with the president, working together with the vice president, for England, and so on?
I think, Costa, you know me better. At no particular point have I not been submissive to the authority or to my seniors in the organization or anyone. I've been so committed to the cause of the people of Zimbabwe. And there is one thing that I always told people, that whatever you see and telling me about negative things that are being said about me and being attacked in the organization, I don't care about them. What makes me energized and going is the unity of purpose among us. Because now, even if we differ, my brother, but as long as when it comes to the unit of purpose, we must be focused to say, we must make sure that by all means necessary, we remain intact and united and unbroken. That was the spirit that was driving me.
Would you want to be the president of Zimbabwe?
No, come on. That is the problem with many people. Where we can, being a president of Zimbabwe is not something that somebody wishes to be.
Okay.
Your wishes is not what you are not going to be. But what, especially offices of public service, those comes from the masses.
If Zimbabwe
You cannot arrogate yourself something which you have not been given by the people.
If they say we want Job Sikhala as the president,
they haven't yet said that. So I cannot comment on something that the people have not said. When the time, if they say that, when that time comes, please call me again. I will be available to come and sit on this chair again and talk to you. But they haven't yet said that.
So this brings me to you maybe clarify on the National Democratic Working Group. What is it?
No, it is a social justice movement. We are pushing the engagement of our citizens in having the consultation on the issues of the problems that we are facing as a nation. We are facing a plethora of problems in our country. How should we solve our national problems? The difficulties of living under a dictatorship. What do you think is the formula, strategy, and plan for us to counter and deal with this? What do you think should be the role of the masses of our people in the future of our nation? Which is one philosophical view that I learned when I was in prison after reading the biography of Oliver or Reginald Tambo called Beyond the Ngele Mountains, on how Oliver Tambo managed to build the concept of having the masses at the center. The liberation struggle of South Africa for it to become a democracy in 1994 was never fought via a guerrilla warfare or an armed struggle. All those people who are claiming, when I was having a meeting in South Africa after my prison days with very senior officials in the government, in the government of South Africa, and also in the ANC, they were saying, please don't say these statements when you meet President Mbeki. Don't say these statements when you meet certain leaders in the ANC, because they would think that you are offending them. I told them, which is a historical fact, that there was no single guerrilla incursion that happened in South Africa until it obtained its democracy in 1994. What was being done there was sabotage, coming to plant bombs that would burst and, destroy railway lines, buildings, and so forth and so on. But they've never had a guerrilla warfare like what happened in Zimbabwe during the period of our liberation struggle.
So what did you tell?
All those Umkhonto were guerrillas. You are hearing about them. Where simply people who were trained and then lived in refugee camps in Tanzania, in Angola, and in Zambia. They never went to go. In fact, the only battle incursion which was done by the Umkhonto guerrillas was the one attempt which was made by Chris Hani with the Zebra forces in Hwange, the Battle of Hwange. That is the only combat the ANC guerrillas had. But they did not have that combat with South African forces, but they had that combat with Rhodesian forces.
So when you met President Mbeki, what were you talking about?
It was very clear. I'm going to, my speech, which I said at the conference, I wanted to post it to the public. I told them why the ANC is now a laughingstock in South Africa and why it has become a minority governing the state with 40%, when you used to, during your presidency, you were around 60%, is because of your association with the ZANU-PF. When you associate yourself with an oppressive sister organization, it has a ripple effect to it in your own credibility as a party. There was a huge debate before the 29th of May 2024 general elections in South Africa about ZANU-PF's interference in the South African elections. And many political organizations and political parties in South Africa were fuming over ZANU-PF's presence in their elections and so forth and so on. The press in South Africa were all over, condemnation of ZANU-PF's presence in South Africa, saying ZANU-PF must move out of South Africa and not interfere with our elections and so forth. I said your association with ZANU-PF is going to cause you not to obtain more than 30% at your next elections in 2026. As long as you associate with the oppressor, your fortunes will continue to drop.
The National Democratic Working Group, 2.5 years from now, will be going to the elections. What is going to be its status?
No, the National Democratic Working Group, like what I said, is a social justice movement.
Yeah.
Would you think, honestly speaking, in your mind, there was a political party which with such a long acronym, NDW, National Democratic Working Group, NDWG. It can't be a political organization. It will remain a social justice movement. If I were to participate in politics, I would leave the National Democratic Working Group to continue to operate on its own. Like what we did. We had the NCA. Before the formation of the MDC in 1999, we did not carry ourselves, the NCA, with us to become the MDC. There was ZCTU, which was doing its own. We did not carry ZCTU into MDC and so forth. They remained as independent institution. The National Democratic Working Group will remain as a social justice movement. It will elect its own. If I decide to come back to politics and fight against ZANU-PF. Definitely the National Democratic Working Group will remain as a social justice movement with a new group of facilitators and leaders on that end.
Honorable Sikhala, we look at the state of the opposition right now. Are you going to form a party? Are you going to join hands with anybody in 2028 elections?
No. Those things like what I told you. The desires of your hearts are not the desires of the masses. We desire quite many things in life, but those things, as long as they don't come from the people we are wasting our time. That's where our struggle ended. And dopa struggle that we are driven by the desires of our own personal ambitions, not knowing that your ambitions must resonate with the masses of our people. If the people of Zimbabwe have not arrogated you that authority for you to get into election or contest any election, why should you do that? That's why people formed political parties under the tree. Me and you and that cameraman, we can just call a press conference here using your cameras that we have formed the party. I am the president, you are my vice and the secretary general. That's why you have got 164 political parties in this country. Some of them of individuals, 2, 3, 4 people calling themselves a political party, on the basis that they have lost the principle of knowing that power is driven from the masses.
So what will be...
As long as the masses have not told you what to do. Like what happened during the period of the formation of the MDC. The MDC did not just come from the blue. There was meticulous job that was done. I was involved from the beginning to the inception of the MDC. The way how we reached out to the masses, that later culminated in the Working People's Convention, which we held in Hillside, at the Women's Bureau in Hillside. Consultations with the masses, and then the masses said, guys, Morgan Sangrai, you and you student leaders and you civic society leaders, you cannot remain cowards, fearing that Mugabe kills and is a lion for us. Let's form an alternative political movement to challenge these dragons. And it did not come from Changrai's head. The formation of the MDC, to be very frank with you, Changrai was hesitant. He had to be attacked by Jetrom for the investors. That you can't be coward. We want you to be our leader, Morgan Changrai. The call and the clamor from the masses was vibrating throughout the country. Not being power hungry, where you sit down, form a political organization, and you say, we are political, we are going to the election. That's nonsense. I am not interested in those kind of politics.
Are you going to participate in the 2028 elections?
It depends. It depends on what the masses will say. If the masses say participate, I will. If they are mute, like at the present moment, I will not. Why should I? I participated in the politics of my nation since the period when I was a very young boy. At 26 years, if you read my book, I was already very active. When I got into Accra, I became a national student leader in the nation, not just a mere student leader on the paper, but a vibrant one, who had to awaken the lying spirit of the students at that material time. Students didn't know the kind of politics that we brought during the period of the 1990s, the late 1990s.
Just a wild assumption that somebody images and say, we want to come back together as opposition people, the likes of the Ngonzoras, Tendai BT, Welsh Benngube, and everybody else working together towards the 2028 elections. Would you be part of that project?
No, as long as there are particular democratic tenets we have to agree on. For example, collective decision making, and all of us responsible for the decision that we make. Constitutionalism, where we would be able to be a complete antithesis of ZANU-PF and show that we are an alternative. Number 3, where we will be able to have leaders being elected by the masses, not us imposing ourselves to the people. Number 3, if it is the clamor from the people, not whereby we few individuals will gather and say, let's come together, let's hear what the people say. The people might say, but how would you now come and claim to us that you not going to advance the cause of the people? So we have to listen to the people first. What are the people saying? As long as there is no any voice echoing from the people, I'm not interested. I will only be interested when the drive and the voice comes from the people.
But do you think
with certain fundamental, cardinal things that I've said, constitutionalism, well-structured democratic organization, people coming from the masses, they must be elected by the people, not to impose themselves to say we are leaders. We like what we have been doing since the beginning of the mass democratic struggle in our country. Morgan Changrai has always been saying, let's go to the Congress if we have got issues for us to contest, if there is any leadership dispute in the party and organization. And nobody ever defeated him at the Congress. The only person who tried to challenge Morgan Changrai was Brian Kagoro, but he obtained 1 vote at that Congress, at the NCA Congress. And Changrai took all the votes, So that is what leadership must be done. Leadership must come from the people must authenticate and must not endorse it, not self-coronation. Never should we allow ourselves to self-coronate ourselves into leadership. I'm not interested in that. And anybody who would be against unity of democratic forces in the nation is an enemy. But that thing must be driven by the people, not by us individuals who together and say, guys, come together. We will still have the same challenges we are meeting today, where organizations will come and be hijacked by strangers and they will run away with it.
So someone might say time is no longer on your side, and perhaps this is why there's a discourse out there on social media to say 2028 is a done deal.
It's a fake. Those are people who are lying to themselves. 2028 is not a done deal. It's done deal in their heads. in their perforated minds is a done deal. ZANU-PF cannot win an election anywhere in this country. And they know that they've never won any election in this country. What they've been doing is manipulation of the figures, of the electoral figures, for them to claim victory in this country. And there wasn't massive pushback for them to claim their victory. But the truth of the matter is that ZANU-PF cannot win any election in this country. That's a fact.
It is winning by-elections all over right now.
Which by-elections?
Recently.
Are people interested in those by-elections? What are by-elections for? People don't have time to waste kukwandira matombo kuzitidi hanga dziriko.
They are waiting for
the bigger one. They are waiting for the big one.
Where you will be featuring?
No, I'm not going to feature. Why? My brother, thank you very much for inviting me to this very important interview. And thank you very much for the conversation that we have had. And I think I've noticed that the last question was about the National Democratic Working Group and so forth. And we have finished it. And if you would allow me now to go into the next business, I'm available at any given time. When you want to have further more conversations, we are available for you, my brother.
Just share your parting shots with our viewers.
Yeah, no, sure. Viewers, thank you very much. It has been very, I think you are going to enjoy this interview. The things that I've said here, I've said them from deep down in my heart. I always say things from the heart. And these are the things that I ideally hold in my heart. I think you have enjoyed this conversation that I've had with Costa Ngomo, and I hope to meet you again. And I also hope he is going to invite me in the future to come and continue about the conversation about our country. This is our country, Zimbabwe. We cannot leave it to anyone. We are responsible for its destiny. And no one will come and liberate us, but we will be our own liberators. And we are the only people who will be able to correct the mistakes and also the misgovernance that is happening in our country. We cannot get a solution from anyone except us Zimbabweans. So thank you very much for taking your opportunity to listen to this important conversation we have had today. Thank you very much, my brother.
Sikhala.
Thank you.
There you have it from Honorable Sikhala. Of course, he was economic in terms of the information, like any politician will do. But we have heard about the prison experience. We've heard about the Citizen Coalition for Change. We have heard about the National Democratic Working Group and his perspective and his view in terms of the 2028 elections. Until next time, I'm signing out.